Welcome. It is now becoming painfully clear to anyone with eyes to see, anyone willing to look beyond the carefully crafted headlines of Western corporate media, that we are standing at the precipice of a cataclysm. And what we witness today is not merely a diplomatic breakdown. It is a total, unmitigated collapse of the facade that the United States ever wanted peace. All hell has truly broken loose, and the anchor that was holding the tattered remnants of international order together has just been severed.
Iran and the country says that it is reviewing its participation in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
With war raging and bombs hitting its nuclear sites, is Tehran seriously weighing an exit from the world's main nuclear pact right in the middle of the crisis?
The Iranian government insists that it does not seek to acquire nuclear weapons despite its intention to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
In a move that has sent shockwaves through every capital from Washington to Islamabad, the Islamic Republic of Iran has announced that it is formally withdrawing from the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, the NPT. This is not a threat made in the heat of rhetoric. This is an agenda item now sitting before the Iranian parliament, with procedures being drafted as we speak. Simultaneously, Tehran has delivered a crushing blow to back-channel diplomacy, flatly rejecting a 15-point ceasefire proposal that was funneled through Pakistani intermediaries. The message from the spokesman for the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Esmail Baghaei, was as concise as it was devastating. Pakistan's forums are their own. We didn't participate.
We have had no direct negotiations with America so far. Since the last round of negotiations until now, the US demands have been very excessive, unrealistic, and illogical. The meetings that Pakistan has with neighboring countries are, well, a framework they themselves have established. We have not participated in this framework. Can it be allowed that Iran and Iranians be in a position of confronting the illegal aggression of America and the Zionist regime to use the available capabilities on the soil of regional countries while our armed forces remain silent? The duty of every authority demands that it respond to such cases with all its power.
Before we dive deeper into how the United States was scammed by its own intermediaries, and how the ground is being prepared for a catastrophic invasion of Iran's islands, I need to ask you to do something. If you believe that the truth deserves a platform, if you are tired of watching the Western media apparatus lie us into war after war, then hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to know what is really happening. And for the love of honest journalism, drop a comment below. Even if it's just a dot to beat the algorithm, or better yet, tell us what you think about Trump getting played by con artists pretending to be Iranian officials. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We don't take a dime from corporations or governments. We rely on you to keep bringing you the reality they don't want you to see. Now let's pull back the curtain on the scam of the century and look at what is actually unfolding on the ground. So what actually happened? Let's break down this so-called 15-point ceasefire offer that Pakistan was supposedly mediating. According to official statements released today by the Consulate General of Iran in Mumbai and amplified by the Foreign Ministry in Tehran, what was presented to Iran was not a negotiation. It was a list of excessive, unrealistic, and irrational demands delivered through an intermediary. The Iranian spokesman was explicit. There are no direct talks with the United States. The phrasing used by the Iranian consulate is worth its weight in gold right now. They stated that the U.S. diplomacy flips constantly, but that Iran's stance is clear, and that while regional calls to end the war are welcome, remember who started it. Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, lost it and clowned after Iran rejected the deal.
Successfully and according to plan. With each passing day, the United States military is increasing its advantage over the terrorist Iranian regime. More than 11,000 enemy targets have been struck to date, each strike further crippling the regime's offensive and defensive capabilities and creating more leverage for the United States and our allies. Compared to the start of the operation, Iran's ballistic missile and drone attacks are down by roughly 90%. The United States is also decimating the Iranian regime's navy. We have destroyed more than 150 of their naval vessels so far, including 92% of their largest vessels. The Iranian Navy has no vessels operating in major regional waterways and no ability to project naval power, which is why they've been assessed as combat ineffective. Our military continues to obliterate Iran's defense industrial base, with nearly 70% of their missiles.
This is where the story takes a turn from geopolitical crisis into the realm of farce, if the stakes weren't so deadly. It appears that Donald Trump has been scammed. I mean that literally. According to reports and the timeline of events, it seems that the American intelligence apparatus, or perhaps freelance deal-makers operating with the blessing of the White House, were talking to someone. Secretary Rubio faced with the reality when full clown mood. Take a listen.
The Iranian regime can never have nuclear weapons, and they need to stop sponsoring terrorism, and they need to stop building weapons that can threaten their neighbors. These short-range missiles that they're launching, they only have one purpose, and that is to attack Saudi Arabia and the UAE and Qatar and Kuwait and Bahrain. That is the range of these weapons. And they have thousands of them. They've built extraordinary numbers of them, and not to mention, their desire to have this nuclear weapon to threaten and blackmail the world with. That will never be allowed to happen. It's too great a risk.
Rubio and his team of criminal warmongers were receiving signals, getting assurances, and feeding Trump the narrative that there was a faction in Tehran ready to fold. They told him there was a top-respected leader, not the Ayatollah, who was ready to negotiate. They presented a 15-point plan that they claimed would end the war and open the Strait of Hormuz. Trump bit. He announced the pause on strikes. He took credit for the market surge. He bragged about his deal-making prowess. But the people he was talking to? They weren't Iranian officials. They were scammers. They were either foreign operatives positioned specifically to manipulate the oil markets for profit, or they were agents of influence designed to create a false sense of security while the United States and Israel repositioned their forces for a ground invasion of Iran's strategic islands in the Persian Gulf. Think about the timing. While Trump was on Truth Social claiming victory, Iran's military was quietly preparing its response. The negotiations were a smokescreen. They were a psychological operation aimed at paralyzing Iranian decision-making and lulling global energy markets into a false sense of security. But Iran saw through it. The powerful parliament speaker, Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf, didn't just deny the talks. He called them exactly what they were. Fake news used to manipulate the financial and oil markets, and an attempt to escape the quagmire in which the U.S. and Israel are trapped. He exposed the game before the ink was dry on Trump's social media posts. And then, to drive the point home, Iran dropped a bombshell that reversed all the gains Trump thought he had made. Let's talk about that bombshell, because it is perhaps the most significant development in the nuclear non-proliferation regime since the treaty was signed. Iran is withdrawing from the NPT. The official reasoning given by Iranian diplomats and lawmakers is scathing and legally precise. They asked a very simple question. What is the point of participating in a treaty when the other signatories, specifically the United States and its allies, not only refuse to allow Iran to enjoy the benefits and rights provided for in the treaty, but actively use the treaty's institutions as cover for espionage and military aggression? The Iranians point to the International Atomic Energy Agency, whose Director General Rafael Grossi they accuse of secretly encouraging attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities by the U.S. and Israel. They argue that while they were engaged in good faith negotiations, while they were upholding their end of the bargain under the NPT, American and Israeli warplanes were bombing their energy infrastructure and assassinating their scientists. How can a nation be expected to remain in a treaty that is supposed to guarantee its right to peaceful nuclear technology when the very agency tasked with overseeing that treaty stands by silently as its facilities are bombed? The hypocrisy is staggering, even by the low standards of Western foreign policy. The Iranian parliament is now saying, enough. They are saying that remaining in the NPT offers Iran no protection, only vulnerability. This is not, as the warmongers in Washington will scream, a dash to a bomb. Iran has reiterated its religious prohibition on nuclear weapons, but it is a declaration of sovereignty. It is Iran saying, If you are going to attack us regardless of what agreements we sign, then we will no longer be bound by the restrictions that you use to spy on us. It is a direct consequence of the United States tearing up the JCPOA and then bombing the country. Now, while all this diplomatic chaos was unfolding, let's look at what was happening on the ground. Because the military reality is telling a story that the White House press corps is too cowardly to print. In the past 24 hours, Iran has struck back at the heart of the Zionist entity in a way that has left Israel rattled to its core. Forget the talk of precision strikes and limited damage. Iranian missiles have hit the Neot Hovav industrial zone near Beersheba. For those who don't know, this is not just any industrial park. This is a sprawling complex of chemical plants, facilities producing hazardous materials, and industrial infrastructure that is vital to the Israeli war machine. But let's be honest about what this means. Iran has just demonstrated that it can hit strategic industrial targets deep inside Israel and cause that kind of chaos. And this isn't a one-off. In the past 24 hours alone, Israel has reported multiple missile launches from Iranian territory. This is the true promise doctrine in action. Iran is not fighting a proxy war anymore. It is fighting a direct war, and it is targeting the economic infrastructure of the occupying regime. Let's not forget the destruction of the Haifa oil refinery today, which was also struck by Iranian drones and missiles again early today. Israel is bleeding. Its refineries are burning, its petrochemical plants are under threat, and its civilian population is being forced to confront the reality that their invincible military cannot protect their industrial base. The strikes in Beersheba have sent a clear message. Iran can reach you, and Iran can hurt you. The fact that the Israeli government, alongside the United States, is now threatening to obliterate Iran's Karg Island, the terminal through which the vast majority of its oil exports flow, only shows their desperation. They are threatening to escalate because their strategy of bombing Iran from afar has failed to break the Iranian people. This is the pattern, and the Iranians have finally stopped playing the game. They have realized that every negotiation with the United States is just a delay tactic used to reposition military assets. They have realized that the moderates the U.S. claims to be talking to don't exist. And now, with the threat of a ground invasion looming, with U.S. troops amassing in the region and Trump talking openly about seizing Iranian territory, Iran is hardening its defenses. They are not just rejecting a ceasefire, they are preparing for a long war. The parliament is moving to expel IAEA inspectors, to remove the legal shackles that the NPT placed on their nuclear program, and to unify the nation behind the military. The coming days are likely to see a massive escalation. With Trump humiliated by the collapse of his negotiation narrative, he may feel compelled to lash out, to try to prove his strength by launching more strikes on Iranian infrastructure. But if he does, he should know that the retaliation will be swift, it will be brutal, and it will target the economic lifelines of the United States and its allies in the region. The world is holding its breath, but in Tehran, the message is clear. The era of being deceived by American fake news is over. The era of resistance is here. Subscribe and stay with us as we continue to monitor these developments. We will be bringing you updates from the ground, from the diplomatic front, and from the financial markets as this story unfolds. For now, keep your eyes on the Strait of Hormuz, and keep your eyes on the Iranian parliament. The decisions made in the next 48 hours will shape the course of the 21st century. Thank you for trusting us to tell you the truth. Stay safe, stay informed, and stand with the truth.